Hello everyone, I'm Cassie Trask and welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. Today we're going to be playing with the Spellbinders Summer Solstice Collection, and this is the Coneflowers die. It comes with your 2 petals, and it also has the one that has 3 leaves on it, and then it has all the little pieces for the inside, and it does tell you on each of those how many you will need to die cut out. We also have the BetterPress Summer Solstice Garden Sentiments. It has not only the plate, but it also has the die cut that goes along with it, and works beautifully with your BetterPress. And you can foil that. And then we're also going to be using these Spellbinders Clear Dimensional Dots. So let's go ahead and get started with our flowers. Just to save a little time, I die cut everything that I needed. I die cut out 2 pink flowers from those 2 dies that they had for the petals. And I grabbed an RV14 Copic marker, and I am just feathering that on those petals. I would suggest picking a color, like whatever color you decide to die cut your petals out of, just pick a Copic marker that is going to be just slightly darker than that. And so that's what I did there. I also die cut out the leaves twice. So I have 6 leaves, and then I did die cut out those little center pieces twice out of some different colors. Next, I grabbed out my paper sculpting kit, which is just a great set of tools to have when you want to make your images look a little bit more realistic. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the tool and I'm breaking up the fibers in the paper to make the flower look a little bit more realistic. It's going to get those petals to bend a little bit more, and you can shape them kind of how you want those to go. So as you can see on the paper front for the Spellbinders Coneflower dies, it has examples of different colors that you can use, and you can tell that there's a lot of texture going on with each of those flowers. And this is how they did it. They used one of these paper sculpting kits. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue our petals together, and I'm just staggering those. And you can take a look at just how cool that looks. You see there's so much extra texture in the flower petals. So next we're going to move on to these little pieces on the inside of the flower. Are they stamen? I'm not sure. I'm not a flower expert, so I could not tell you, but I'm going to use the tool on those as well. And like I said, I cut these out of some orange paper and some brown paper. You know, you just use whatever you want. And I will tell you, so I cut these out a couple times, and I ended up making 3 total flowers, and I used just the 2 that I die cut out here. I die cut out a lot more, but I wasn't sure exactly how many I wanted or needed. So you can make those as full as you want. There's no real rules to it, and you just have fun making the centers. And then we're going to do the same thing with our leaves. So I die cut the leaves out twice. That gave me 6 leaves. And so I did grab a Copic YG67. So once again, my suggestion is whatever green cardstock that you choose to die cut your petals or your leaves out of, you're going to want to grab a Copic marker that's just slightly darker than that. And I feathered that going from the center out. And so once again, we're bringing in that paper sculpting tool, and we're just going to sculpt those leaves and give those a lot of texture, break up those fibers a little bit more. It really does make them look so much more realistic. And it's a lot of fun to do, actually. And it makes breaking up the fibers in the paper and sculpting the pieces so much easier when you have a tool like this. All right, so we're just about finished, and once we are, we can start piecing together the rest of the flower. So I'm just going to take some liquid glue. This is that Barely Art liquid glue, and I'm going to use like a little paper piercer or paper piecer, a tool that will pick up those things, and we're going to just pick up each one of those little stamen pieces. Again, not sure what they're called. And we're going to variegate the color. I'm using some orange and brown and just doing it in different spots just to add a lot of different color there. And once that glue dries back, you won't see any white, and it's going to look really cool. But this is a really good strong glue, so I do love this glue. I'm even going to stack a few of these on top of each other so it gives it a little bit more dimension. We're going to really make that very full. And once again, just grabbing the different colors and sticking those down on top. It just looks so neat in the end. All right, so take a look at that, how much texture, how that flower just looks so neat. And like I said, I did make 2 more. So now that all the three of them are made, we're going to move on to making our sentiment. So once again, that comes from our BetterPress Summer Solstice Garden Sentiments. I'm going to put that on the center of my BetterPress. And then I do have some cotton BetterPress paper. This is the porcelain white. And I'm just going to tack that down using a little bit of Post-it tape onto the center of my clear plate. We're using some of the black ink that comes with the BetterPress. And I'm just kind of twisting and pouncing that color all over that. Make sure I get good coverage. And then we can stick our paper down on top. And then run this through your Spellbinders Platinum 6. Peel that away and take a look. You have all those sentiments all in one. It's fabulous. And they're letterpressed, so they have extra texture to them. So I'm going to clean up my BetterPress just using a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a cloth. That gets everything mostly pretty clean, but you can tell I love my BetterPress. I use it a lot. All right, now we're going to take the matching die that comes with that Summer Solstice Garden Sentiments, and we're going to tack that down with some more Post-it tape, and then we'll run this through our die cutting machine as well, and then we'll have all of those sentiments all at once. And then you can just save them for later, because they go with all of that Summer Solstice Collection. Boy, that's tough to say. So they go with all of the Summer Solstice Collection. I'm deciding which ones I want to use on this card. I'm definitely going to use the Thinking of You on the inside, and then I'm going to use this other one, In the Summer, the Song Sings Itself. That one's going to go on the outside of my card. I just grabbed a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. This light blue. I just thought that looked really pretty with our pink and our green. And then we are going to start gluing down those flowers. I'm going to start with the flowers. Notice I only put glue mostly in the center. It's some on those petals just a little bit, but I really want those petals to stick up. Now this card obviously isn't going to go in the mail super easy. So it might be one of those cards that I just hand deliver to somebody because it does have so much dimension to it. So now that I've decided where the rest of these little flowers are going to go, we're going to do the same thing with each of them. And then we can do the same thing with our last flower, you know, kind of grabbing just the little bits of the petals, and then the rest can stick up. Now we can start doing the same thing with our leaves. As I said, I had die cut each of the leaf dies out twice for each flower. So I have 6 total leaves for each flower. And again, with those, I'm only adding the glue to the very tip of the leaf because again, I want those leaves to stand up. And this is a nice strong glue, so I'm not worried about those leaves falling out. And once we have all of those on that flower, that looks good. It's really starting to come together and look a lot more real. And there's no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting them. I'm just putting them where I think they look good. Filling in some gaps here and there where that blue still pokes out, but you can definitely, I think it just complements the pink and the green a whole lot more. So it's at this point I realized I think I'm going to want my card base to stick out a little bit. And I told you this blue measured 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. Well, I think I want to cut it down. And I know what you're thinking. You can't. It's too late now. And technically it probably should have been. But because I didn't glue down all of my petals, I'm going to very gingerly put that in there. And I'm going to trim down 1/4 inch off of both the short and the long side. So it's going to end up being 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I could just put those petals and leaves right back down. All right, so now I'm happy with that. That's gonna work out really well. And we can put the rest of our leaves down. And it's okay if those leaves go beyond the blue just a little bit because remember our card base will end up being 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches when it's closed. And so that does give you a little bit of room there. So I'm not quite as concerned about those leaves sticking off of the page. Or even if they did go beyond that, especially if this is a card I decide I'm not going to mail, it's not as big a deal. All right, so now I'm going to glue the Thinking of You on the inside of our card base. Once again, that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and was scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to go ahead and glue down our panel to our base. And then I'll have a nice white border all around. I think that makes our sentiment pop just a little bit more. And I can't stop there. I do have to embellish. I can never help myself. So I've grabbed the Spellbinders Clear Dimensional Dots. And I'm trying to use my pickup stick here to, or my pickup tool, my poker, to grab those, but all it's really doing is pulling them off, and I'm using my fingers to put those down. And I don't go real liberal here. I do have a lot of dots on this page, or on this, there's a lot of dots that come in this little package, but I just kind of put a few down just to add to, not distract too much from our flowers. And so we'll put them in each of the corners, putting a couple here and there, and doing a variation in the size as well. I do like that that's how it is. So that's going to finish off our card for today. I really love how this turned out. I love all the dimension and the texture, and I'd love to know what you think of it. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that ScrapbookPal has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.